On the BBC today, Southport attacker admits murdering 3 girls. From Mark Waddington, Rachel Lazaro, Johnny Humphreys and about 20 other people, because it's impossible for journalists to do any work these days without there being at least 10 of them. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I will be doing a live stream following the ascendance of the Orange Oracle to the Golden Throne very shortly, but this needed to be covered because, as I'm sure those of you that pay attention are aware, there was some slippery machinations behind the scenes to try and cover up and obfuscate the crimes that this weasel, this creature, committed. In fact, there were many instances of people throwing their suspicions into the public eye about what they believed his ideology was, and they were proven right. And those people were locked in prison. So the government purposely silenced people that talked about his motivations for committing the crime, locked up people that correctly identified the ideology behind this crime, and then organised sentencing for the same day that the Orange God ascends the Golden Throne. Almost like there's a global conspiracy to cover up for evil people. And I'm not talking about Dr. Fauci getting a preemptive pardon, even though he claims he hasn't broke the law. No, I'm talking about this despicable oxygen thief being assisted by the government at every turn. But before I read the story, let's just gaze upon the face of pure evil, because they've hidden it from us for all this time and then waited until Inauguration Day to finally release a picture. And as you might have guessed, he's not pale and blonde. He's not Stephen Merchant, is he? Yeah, he looks a bit, what would be the word? There's a certain look about him. I can't think what the word... Oh yeah, I know the word. It's words. It's words, not words singular. He looks a bit fighting age, unvetted, dangerously indoctrinated, foreign man in council housing, drain on the taxpayer, cold-blooded killer. Yeah, he just looks a bit like that. Definitely a great idea to bring in more of them, isn't it? Okay, so here's the story in full. Southport attacker obviously he admits it. The BBC might have been covering for him for the last year, but even they can't deal with 50 witnesses. There is the face of evil. We finally get to see it on Inauguration Day. Very strange. Axel Rudu-Kanubu, sentenced on Thursday. And guess what? There's a cherry on top of this Sunday. Rudu-Kanubu cannot be sentenced to a whole life term for his crimes because he's under the age of 21. Amazing. He'll probably be out before Julie Sweeney. Do you remember Julie Sweeney? You must remember her. Bell End Church explosion call woman. Jailed for online post. Surely you remember her. The 53-year-old granny who never been in trouble with the law in her entire life and was really, really upset about the wanton slaughter of little innocent children. So in a moment of anger and rage and sorrow, posted a nasty post on Facebook and promptly got 2 years in prison from the state. Do you remember that? Yeah. Rudu-Kanubu will probably beat her out of jail. Nice one. You couldn't make this stuff up, could you? You couldn't make it up. Cannot be sentenced to a whole life term. So life means about 12 years. He'll be out when he's 30. He'll be out in time to play right wing for Leyton Orient. He's not going to get a proper job, is he? Although, probably not going to be right wing. Maybe he'll play on the left wing. Yeah, he'll play on the left wing and he'll do an exclusive interview, a softball interview with Owen Jones in The Guardian. Rudu-Kanubu he's not of banks. He's not of banks. The only banks he can be from is the banks of the river Kagera, which is the largest river running through Rwanda. Anyway, he was accused of producing the biological toxin ricin and a charge under the Terrorism Act related to possessing the AQ training manual. Merseyside police said last year the stabbing attack had not been declared a terrorist incident despite the discovery of the document. Unbelievable. Yeah. He had an AQ terrorist training manual, and government sources told the BBC that Rudu-Kanubu was referred to the government's anti-terrorism prevent programme several times before the attack and had been visited by the police, but the Merseyside police said it still wasn't a terror attack. Yeah, if Osama bin Laden had wore a t-shirt saying "I heart terrorism," waved the terrorist training manual, and then said, "I can't wait to commit a terror attack on the United States before knocking down the Twin Towers on 9/11, Merseyside police and the British government would have said, "Oh yeah, but it wasn't a terror attack, because that sounds bad. Why don't you smell the shite that you're shoveling, BBC, British government and Merseyside police? Following riots after his vicious, violent, awful, appalling, heartbreaking attack, about 1,200 people were arrested in connection with riots in towns and cities across the UK because the government was lying to them and everything they said was right. And dozens of them were jailed. Patrick Hurley, who became MP for the town less than a month before the attack, said there was surprise and shock at the pleas. We're all hoping the families get the outcome and the justice they need. Patrick, you can suck my stump, son. Anyway, I'm calling it there because just reading this is boiling my urine in the bladder. I am fuming with furious, righteous anger, and you should be too. To sum up, the government, the police, the civil service and the judiciary covered up for Mr. Rudu Kanubu. People like him kill your children and the government helps them. And if you talk about it too aggressively, they lock you up. And because he's not been given a full life sentence, he'll probably get out before Tony Romo. So I love that. If it hasn't sunk in already, the state is deeply set against you and they do not care one jot about you or your family's lives, including the lives of those that are most innocent, the little children, the little girls. It defies belief. But, I mean, it doesn't really, because I told you lot this many years ago. If the government will sign off on the industrial torture and abuse of children and cover for the men that did it, there is no crime they won't sign up for. None. I told you this many, many times. And now you gaze at the pictures of those 3 children, and it's enough to break the heart of even a stalwart battlefield colossus like myself. It's enough to unman you. But the government don't care. The government don't care because they're in thrall to a toxic ideology that only sees the victim pyramid. And if you're on it, and Rudu Kanubu is most definitely on it, you can't be a bad person. You just can't. But you know who is a bad person? People that look like you and me and the 3 little girls in those pictures we've all seen so many times before. So that's me, I'm done. I'm going to not let this darken my day. The Orange God is ascending the throne in a few hours' time, and that may be the beginning of a global fight back against the killers of children and their government ministers that assist them as they do it. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Starmer may as well have sharpened the blades, Philip Rutnam cooked him his breakfast, and Jess Phillips tugged him off before he went to the dance class. That's how I see it. If you disagree because you're mentally ill, please let me know in the chat and I'll send the white van round your house immediately. Okay? See you later. I'll be streaming in about an hour. We can all praise the God Emperor. May he deliver us from this evil. All right? Thanks for tuning in. See you very soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.